Djokovic chooses Carlos Alcaraz. The Serbian tennis player praises the Mercian and names him his successor, while also remembering Rafa Nadal and their rivalry. The Australian Open is just around the corner, bringing another opportunity to see the world's best tennis players competing against each other. With the draw already decided, there are high expectations for Carlos Alcaraz in the tournament. He has the chance to win his first Grand Slam of the year, the only one missing from his collection of major tennis titles. To achieve this, he might face his top rivals, including a potential match against Novak Djokovic in the round of 16. The Serbian is striving to return to the top of the ATP rankings by introducing several changes in his preparation and aims to prove his improvement at this Melbourne tournament. However, before making headlines on the court, he has done so off it in an interview with GQ. As he chases his 100th title, Djokovic is already talking about a potential successor, none other than Alcaraz. Djokovic bets on Carlos Alcaraz over Sinner. People say no one will ever break my records. But I doubt it. I mean, Carlos could be next. Even Yannick. Carlos has done something that nobody in history has achieved at such a young age. So I think he has every chance. I believe he'll surpass them very soon, Djokovic explains, praising the Mercian and naming him as one of the future leaders of tennis. He has said it himself, he wants to make history. He wants to be the best in history. I respect that mindset, like, hey, I think I've got what it takes. But maybe it's a bit too early to think about history, adds Djokovic, who, despite naming Alcaraz as a player capable of surpassing him, emphasizes the importance of patience and waiting for several years for him to solidify. Spanish players, Djokovic's kryptonite. Djokovic also reflected on his legendary rivalries with the other members of the Big Three. The Serbian, Roger Federer, and Rafa Nadal have defined tennis with their three-way rivalry, which is now etched into history. However, Djokovic admits he has a particular difficulty against Spanish players, stating that Nadal has been his toughest rival. Nadal was the most intimidating, without a doubt. Roger also had an enormous aura, of course. And before playing against him, you could feel it. But he did it with more grace, I suppose. I mean Nadal, because we all shared locker rooms, so you see the players warming up and so on. Before playing against him, you already felt it. He wants to make his presence felt. You know? Physically. I'm jumping. I'm ready for a battle. I'm going to be physical with you from the start, explains the world number 7, acknowledging that the Mallorcan has been his most challenging opponent. Ferrero reveals Alcaraz's improvement. Carlos Alcaraz's coach reveals the key aspect that has improved for this season. The 2025 season begins for Carlos Alcaraz. The El Palmar tennis player, winner of the last Roland Garros and Wimbledon, returns with new challenges for this upcoming season. With all eyes on the Australian Open. However, his start hasn't been ideal. Alcaraz has suffered 3 consecutive defeats in preparation matches for the Australian Open, the latest this Wednesday against Alex de Minaur, 7-5, 4-6, 10-5. During the break in the exhibition match, his coach Juan Carlos Ferrero revealed the aspect they focused on during the preseason. We've worked on many things. Carlos is still very young and has many areas to improve, consistency in his concentration, because he often has ups and downs in matches. He knows it. He's working on it, and we want to see some great tennis from him, Ferrero commented. Alcaraz will have 2 more tests before the first Grand Slam of the year, the Australian Open. First against American Taylor Fritz, and then against another Australian, Alexei Popyrin. Before entering the first Grand Slam of the year, the only one Carlos Alcaraz hasn't won. Let's hope to see significant improvement from the Mercian player in the Australian Open. Alcaraz stumbles in his first contact with the Australian Open. The 2025 Australian Open is already heating up in Melbourne with the presence of the world's best players, who are using these days to prepare for the start of the first Grand Slam of the year. This was the case for Carlos Alcaraz, who played his first match of the season on Wednesday, losing to Australian Alex de Minaur, 7-5, 4-6, 10-5, in a charity exhibition match that doesn't bother the Mercian player at all, as he thrilled the thousands of fans filling the Rod Laver Arena. After some initial testing games, Alcaraz achieved a clean break, 3-1, which seemed to seal the set. But it wasn't the case. De Minaur then showed his best shots, taking advantage of the Roland Garros and Wimbledon champions' lack of rhythm to turn the set around and win it 7-5. The early games of the second set were intense, with neither opponent able to take a break. Alcaraz dazzled with a series of drop shots, which de Minaur countered with unshakable serving consistency. The Rod Laver crowd was delighted by the back-and-forth action and the effort from both players in a match with no stakes. Alcaraz had 4 break points to lead 5-3, but he couldn't convert them. He committed several errors at that stage but leaned on an improved serve. With superb play on the return, he closed out the set and sent the match into a super tiebreak. The Australian, who had won both his official matches this year at the United Cup, took a 4-1 lead, a margin he admirably maintained until the 10-5 final. Such was the lack of significance of the match that Alcaraz almost spent more time answering questions about his haircut afterward. I talked to my barber about the fact that when I get my hair cut 3 days later, it's already grown back. So I have to go more often. It's a new year. I knew I was going to be here in Australia. 40 degrees. It's summer here. I thought I needed something new. I already had this haircut a few years ago, and I like it. Probably this year will be a new Carlitos in terms of style, he said with a laugh. The event host, former German tennis player Andrea Petkovic, also took the time to tease de Minaur about his outfit in a recently published photo. Carlos isn't the only stylish guy here. If we look up, Alex, what inspired you? Pajamas? A Gucci suit? Tell us, she asked. This is fashion, was the Australian's humorous reply. This Friday, Alcaraz will have his second and final match. His opponent will be another Australian, Alexei Popyrin, ranked 25th, a dangerous rival against whom Alcaraz will try to fine-tune his game further after an intense preseason focused on physical work. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like because here at Tennis Zone, we are dedicated to bringing you the best content for the best audience. We offer in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and comprehensive coverage of everything related to the world of tennis. Join our community and be part of the excitement of tournaments with us. Additionally, at Tennis Zone, we strive to provide you with up-to-date, high-quality content on players, tournaments, strategies, and the most relevant events in the tennis world.